Welcome to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast with me, Dave Roberts. I had the pleasure this week to talk on a hot topics panel at Abbey Road Studios about resilience and how to balance innovation, compliance, and operational realities. So, how do you build a technology organization that is both resilient but still agile? Because here's the tension. On one hand, there's relentless pressure to accelerate, more AI, more data-driven decision-making, faster delivery. On the other hand, there's an equally powerful need to remain stable, compliant, secure, and operationally sound, and those two forces don't always sit comfortably together. In this episode, I'm going to explore how organizations can balance demand, decisions, and change. I'll talk about how technology leaders can push forward with innovation without undermining resilience, and why alignment across functions is often the difference between good decisions and costly mistakes. Let's start with the reality that many of you will recognize. Technology demand has never been higher. Every part of the business wants something. Finance wants better forecasting. HR wants smarter workforce analytics. Operations want automation. Marketing wants personalization at scale. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, there's a growing expectation that AI will transform everything. But here's the problem. Demand is infinite, capacity is not. And when everything becomes a priority, nothing truly is. What often happens is that organizations try to say yes to too much. They spin up initiatives, pilots, and proof of concepts across multiple teams. They invest in platforms without fully understanding how they integrate. They chase innovation headlines rather than focusing on outcomes. The result is not acceleration, it's fragmentation. Teams become stretched. Technical debt grows quietly in the background. Risks increase. And ironically, delivery slows down. Resilient organizations take a different approach. They don't just ask what we can do, they ask what we should do, and more importantly, what we should stop doing. That requires discipline, it requires governance, but more than anything, it requires alignment. Because one of the biggest challenges in modern organizations is not technology itself, it's decision-making across silos. Think about how decisions are often made. The business defines ambition, technology assesses feasibility, risk and compliance assess exposure, finance assesses costs, operations assess impact. But too often these conversations happen sequentially rather than collaboratively. By the time a solution reaches implementation, compromises have already been made, assumptions have been baked in, and misalignment is already present. That's where resilience starts to erode. A more effective model is to bring these perspectives together earlier. Not as the checkpoint at the end, but as part of the design process. When technology, risk, compliance, finance, and operations are aligned from the onset, decisions become clearer. Trade-offs become visible, and importantly, accountability is shared. This is why many organizations are now evolving towards product-centric or value stream aligned models. Instead of thinking in terms of projects, they think in terms of outcomes. Instead of handing work across functions, they bring capabilities together in multidisciplinary teams. And this changes everything. Because when a team owns an outcome end-to-end, they naturally balance innovation with operational reality. They understand the cost of failure. They feel the impact of downtime. They are accountable not just for delivery, but for sustainability. Now let's talk about innovation, because this is where things often become polarized. Some organizations push aggressively. They adopt new technologies quickly, they experiment widely, they move fast and accept a higher level of risk. Others are more cautious. They prioritize stability, they focus on proven solutions, they move more slowly, but with greater control. The truth is, neither extreme is sustainable on its own. Pure speed without control leads to instability. Pure caution without innovation leads to stagnation. The goal is not to choose one over the other. It's to design a system where both coexist. One of the most effective ways to do this is through intentional separation. Not everything in your organization needs to operate at the same speed. Core systems, particularly those that are critical to operations, should prioritize resilience. They should be well governed, well tested, and carefully managed. At the same time, innovation environments should be designed for speed. They should allow experimentation, rapid iteration, and even failure within controlled boundaries. The key is to create pathways between the two. Innovation should not remain isolated. Successful experiments need a structured route into production, and that transition is where many organizations struggle, because moving from proof of concept to enterprise scale introduces complexity. Security requirements increase, integration challenges emerge, data governance becomes critical. Without a clear process, innovation stalls at the pilot stage. And this is why resilient organizations invest in what you might call translation layers. These are the standards, frameworks, and platforms that allow new ideas to scale safely. Think about things like API strategies, data governance models, security frameworks, and cloud architectures. These are not just technical foundations, they are enablers of both speed and control. Now let's bring AI into the conversation, because this is where the pressure is the most intense right now. AI has moved from curiosity to expectation. Leaders are being asked not if they will adopt AI, but how quickly they can do it and what value it will deliver. But AI introduces a unique set of challenges. It's not just another technology layer, it changes how decisions are made. It introduces probabilistic outcomes rather than deterministic ones. It raises new ethical and regulatory questions, and importantly, it depends heavily on data quality. Many organizations underestimate this. They invest in new AI tools without addressing the underlying data foundations. They expect insights from datasets that are incomplete, inconsistent, and poorly governed. The result is disappointing outcomes and eroded trust. Resilient organizations take a different path. They treat data as a product. They invest in quality, ownership, and governance. They ensure that data is reliable before they build AI on top of it. They also recognize that AI decisions need oversight. Just because a model can make a recommendation doesn't mean it should be accepted blindly. Human judgment remains critical, particularly in high-risk scenarios. This brings us back to alignment, because AI decisions often sit at the intersection of multiple functions. Technology builds the models, the business uses the outputs. Risk and compliance assess the implications. Without alignment, decisions become fragmented. With alignment, organizations can define clear principles. Where is AI appropriate? Where is human oversight required? What level of risk is acceptable? And this clarity enables faster, more confident decision making. Now let's shift focus slightly and talk about change, because even the best strategies will fail if organizations cannot adapt effectively. Change is no longer occasional, it's constant. New technologies, new regulations, new threats, new opportunities. The organizations that succeed are not those that avoid change, they are those that become comfortable with it. But comfort doesn't mean chaos. Resilient organizations approach change with structure. They prioritize transparency. Teams understand what is changing and why. They invest in communication. They ensure that stakeholders are engaged, not surprised. They build adaptability into their systems. This means designing architectures that can evolve. It means avoiding tight coupling. It means favoring modular approaches that allow components to be updated without disrupting an entire system. And perhaps most importantly, it means investing in people. Because technology does not implement itself. Teams need the skills to adopt new tools. Leaders need the confidence to make informed decisions. And organizations need a culture that supports learning. This is where many transformation efforts fall short. They focus heavily on technology and not enough on capability. They implement new platforms but do not invest in training. They introduce new processes but do not embed new behaviors. The result is underutilized technology and frustrated teams. Resilience in this context is not just about systems, it's about people. It's about creating an environment where teams can operate effectively under pressure, where they can adapt to change without losing focus, where they can make decisions with confidence. Let's bring this all together. Balancing demand, decisions, and change is not a one-time exercise. It's an ongoing discipline. It requires clarity of priorities. Not everything can be done at once. It requires alignment across functions. Decisions should not be made in isolation. It requires intentional design. Systems should support both innovation and resilience, and it requires investment in people because ultimately they are the ones making the decisions and delivering the outcomes. If there's one takeaway from today's episode, it's this. Speed and resilience are not opposites. When designed well, they reinforce each other. Clear alignment leads to better decisions. Better decisions reduce risk. Reduced risk enables faster progress. And that is how organizations become not just fast, but truly ready. ready to innovate, ready to adapt, and ready to lead in an environment where change is the only constant. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning into the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. You can find more insights, show notes, and resources at www.inspiringtechleaders.com. Head over to the social media channels. You can find Inspiring Tech Leaders on X, Instagram, Inspo, and TikTok. And let me know your thoughts on resilience and how to best balance innovation, compliance, and operational realities. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in tech.